One hot day in early summer, a few months before Jesus launched his public speaking ministry, a feller by the name of Johnny appeared out of nowhere and started preaching in the middle of nowhere, calling folks to repent, dunking them there in the Jordan River. Sound kind of strange to you? He was. Now, a lot of folks will say that Johnny was a Baptist. A Baptist? Seriously. I'm here to tell you, I've seen a lot of Baptists in my day, and Johnny definitely was not one of them. He was, how can I put it, peculiar. You might overhear mamas whisper behind their hands to one another about him, calling him a curious boy. Other folks explain Johnny's appearance in the wilderness this way. For Jesus' 21st birthday, his cousin Johnny took Jesus out for a night on the town to celebrate. Of course, all the stores and bars were closed, since it was Christmas, after all. John, who had been a backslidden Baptist up to that point, got religion and never drank again. Started eating bugs and such, and moved to a trailer in the wilderness to become an eccentric, fanatical recluse. Well, the point of my story is not how Johnny the Dipper got to preaching in the middle of nowhere. The point is, he was there. Now, he weren't the messianic Coleman lantern I mentioned before. He was the prophetic flashlight pointing to the lantern, the thing that would help you find the thing that would help you drive away the damp and the dark, you see. Folks came from all over just to hear Johnny preach and then get themselves dunked by him in the Jordan. Now, I don't reckon it was because Johnny was following a well-traced strategy for popularity. His preaching mostly consisted of yelling at folks all day long. He weren't what you'd call a people person. He was a goof, pure and simple. Yet Johnny moved in the spirit and power of Elijah, the greatest of the prophets before him. In fact, Jesus said there was nobody better than Johnny the Dipper who was ever born to a woman, which is pretty much everybody if you stop to think about it. Now, that's a pretty high compliment, as compliments go. Yet I must admit nobody was weird as Johnny. If they gave out kingdom points for where you live or what you wear or how you eat, Johnny'd be hard to beat. He lived there in the wilderness. Let me just say there's a reason no one chooses to live there. He was a wild man. Hey, he wore camel's hair like the oddball prophet Elijah had done. Not a top choice for hot weather clothing. And he ate bugs and wild honey, which is an important part of a high-risk diet. You never know if this one's going to be your last meal. Well, I reckon it's all likely to make a soul a mite cranky when the curious come out to gander at you like you're on display at the zoo. I think if I was in his sandals, I'd be pacing back and forth like a tiger in his cage, just waiting for some folks to cross the line so I could eat them. And sure enough, Johnny was there, calling the religious leaders from the big city a bunch of hypocrites and spiritual losers. You might say he was the quality control specialist for the orchard of the coming kingdom. And when he went looking for fruit and didn't find him any, he was ready to cut down the trees and throw them in the fire. On the surface, it might seem like Johnny the Dipper didn't respect folks. But in truth, I think it's better to say that he more deeply respected a truer reality of a kingdom that most of us could not see or even imagine. Johnny was the last prophet, BK, before the kingdom. And his entire role was to prepare folks to be ready for the one who was to bring it about. The kingdom was at hand. Johnny could feel it in his bones. It wasn't years away, not anymore. Johnny's spiritual rheumatism was flaring up, and that always meant it was gonna rain. Or, in this case, that the kingdom he was so intense about was starting, and Israel wasn't ready. And that right there is the heart of a man who's better than any man ever born of a woman.